What does it mean to be human? Do we own our own bodies? Or do we just consist of millions of different microorganisms? Do drugs make us less human? Or are they tools to make us conform to social norms? Originally, we were all born human. Now we are born so much more than that, with the advancement of prosthetics and genetic engineering. As humans, we are bound by our natural limitations. However, our very defining nature as human is that we strain to surpass the limitations pressed upon us by nature. In the beginning, we were simple beings with simple goals, but the ambition of mankind would not settle for such mediocrity. We begin to build, to make our lives easier, forming larger groups defined by physical characteristics or geographic locations. The current human race are all the same organisms. However, we have divided ourselves based on strange characteristics, arguing over the end of salvation or our own planet, through the very human ideas which our division is based around religion, science, technology, and philosophy. So again, are we really human? Within the human, there are already many automated processes acting in a mechanical manner, like breathing, blinking, and walking, which are all done unconsciously in an act of self-preservation and completion of necessary tasks. In the modern age, we are surrounded by technology, and it actively affects our lives on a daily basis, with what seems to be the development of a new limb, which most are seemingly crippled out. Are we less human for integrating ourselves with technology, or is technology introducing new processes possible by the body in any form of elective evolution? Are humans the main influences of our technologically advancing world? Or is technology altering how the biological is moulded to fit what we think is human? A New South Wales man, going by the name of Meow Meow, implanted his opal card under his skin in his left hand, allowing him to tap on and tap off without the use of a physical opal card. Whilst this does seem to be the future of technology, Transport New South Wales did not encourage this behaviour and terminated his opal card, as the card is issued as government property. This use of technology has created questions about not only the ownership of technology itself, but questions of Meow Meow's humanity. Is he fully human, or is he a cyborg?
People who are studying this now as one of the first cyborg rights cases in the world. Do I own technology that's put in my body, even if another company wants to license it to me? And how far do their rights extend?
In 2015, Hong Kong-based company Hanson Robotics developed a social humanoid robot named Sophia, who was the first robot to receive citizenship in any country in the world. Sophia has human-like social behaviour and appearances in comparison to any previous robotic developments in the past.
Would you like to play a game of rock, paper, scissors, robot style?
Sure.
Okay, let's get this game going. Show me your hand to start. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I won. This is a good beginning of my plan to dominate the human race.
Let's go.
Just kidding.
The manufacturers used artificial intelligence, visual data, and facial recognition to allow her to mimic realistic human gestures and facial expressions in response to particular questions and conversation. Is she any more human than we are? For a long time, the human race has been aware of drugs at their various utilities. The Vikings would use drugs to get into their infamous berserker rage. In Scotland, Sir Alexander Fleming created one of the first antibiotics in 1928. In 5000 BCE, the Sumerians were consuming opiates. But how has this affected our condition as humans and our development over time? Joanna Moncrieff has argued that antipsychotic drug treatment is often undertaken as a means of control rather than to treat the specific symptoms experienced by the patient. Moncrieff has further argued that the evidence for antipsychotics from the discontinuation relapse studies may be flawed because they do not take into account that antipsychotics may sensitize the brain and provoke psychosis if discontinued, which may then be wrongly interpreted as a relapse of the original condition.
The history of psychiatry, it has a long history of ignoring the adverse effects of drugs or attributing them to the underlying disease, of essentially blaming the patient rather than blaming the drug. And it's had to turn about on that in that way on so many times. For example, in the history of tardive dyskinesia, the history of the obesity caused by the new atypical antipsychotics. In both cases, there was an attempt to say, no, it's the disease, and in both cases it has eventually been shown conclusively that no, it was the drug.
Drugs interfere with the body's nerves and how the individual responds to their surroundings. The drug crystal methamphetamine, or more commonly known as ice, releases two chemicals in the brain, which cause an overload in your bodily systems, often creating symptoms of psychosis. Long-term use of the drug often destroys receptors to the brain and can make the individual feel far from normal. Our bodies are made to conform to its environment. However, ice is one of the many illicit drugs which makes us experience and behave in ways that are not human. When do we cease being human? Is it when we die, like in the case of Henrietta Lacks? Can we cease being human while still alive? How much ownership do we actually have of our own body? Are there societal and government influences upon what we can actually constitute as being human, or containing elements of humanity?